Okay, let's get started. When we're ready, we're just going to be walking on the spot. I'm just going to take my jacket off because it's going to get warm in here, I feel. Keep walking on the spot for me. If anyone's coming in, we've only just started, but thanks for getting my email that we changed it to an hour earlier. Always helps. All right, let's turn this into some marching for me. Keep going with your marching. I'm just going to change a couple of things. All right. So marching on the spot, nice high knees if you can. Just try and get those knees up nice and high. I might need to change my angle in a second. But I'll get you onto the next one. Okay, so the next one is marching up. And what we're going to try and do once we get that knee up is straighten that leg out a little bit, bring it back in. So we march up, we straighten out, and we bring it back down. March up, straighten out, bring it back down. Make sure if you need to, you use your chair for balance, okay? Just going to change that camera angle a little bit just so that hopefully you can see a little bit more. We'll come to some of the chair stuff later. It's a bit hard with this room at the moment. All right, so keep going with your marching, knee up, and then straighten that leg out. Ah, that's a bit better. So march, straighten, and down, march, straighten, down. Nice slow movements. Remember, use your chair or use the wall if you need to for balance. That's it. All right. And then we've got our ladder. So we're marching up, but we're reaching up with that opposite arm. So it's kind of like we're climbing a ladder. So opposite arm, opposite leg. And we can speed this one up a little bit. A little bit quicker than we were. That's it. Me to read my writing, I've written it too low. Or too short, I should say. Too far away from me. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to stand and we're going to try and flick our heels up towards our bottom. So it's up to you. You can have your hands on your bottom just to make sure that you sort of stand up nice and tall. And what you're trying to do is you're not going to necessarily get your heels all the way up to your bottom, but you just want to try and flick up there as best you can. So just flicking up and back down, flicking up. That's way. Just side to side. So you're just getting a little bit of motion side to side. Keep going there for me, just flicking those heels towards the bottom. Everyone seemed to get the message. Good job, guys. That we're coming in an hour earlier. All right, so just keep those heel flicks going for me. I really shouldn't have written this all so small. Okay, so the next one, we're going to have our feet nice and wide. We're going to go into a tiny little squat. So it's not a massive squat, just a tiny little knee bend. Then we're going to come up into a high knee, little knee bend into our squat, up into a high knee on the other side. So we're just going side to side. As we come up, we bring that knee up. And we're just going down, up, knee up, down, knee up, down, knee up, down. So pretty much just going side to side, coming almost under, knee up, under, knee up. That's the way. It doesn't really matter what you do with your hands. People always ask what I do with my hands. I just have them in front of me just so that they're not in the way. But you can have them down by your side if you're comfortable. You can do some little arms if you're comfortable. So as you come down, you raise your arms up to the side. And as you bring that into a high knee, bring your arms down. Just a couple of different variations for you to try out if you want. Okay. The next one is basically what we were doing, but we're going to side step. We're going to flick towards our bottom with this inside leg. We're going to side step back across and flick. So instead of going just side to side, we're actually going to side step across, flick, side step across, flick. So try really stretch it out with that side step. So nice wide side step this time. With your arms this time, I want you to try and just bring them out in front and in, front and in. So as you step, we bring them up. As you flick up towards your bottom, you bring them to your thighs. So out, in, out, in. That's it. So nice slow movements. Just trying to warm up all of our legs, all of our hips. Get a little bit of shoulders into it as well at this point. That's it. Just keep side step, lift, side step, lift. All right. Have a little bit of a rest there, shake your legs. The next one is just our knee repeater. So remember, we stay nice and low on our stance knee. Our other leg comes back, we touch our toes to the ground, we bring that through. And we just keep touching our toes back and then bringing our knee through. So all I'm doing is touching my toes on the ground out the back of me, bring it up, back, up. Now you can get some like running arms going with this one if you like. So each time that you lift, you bring that opposite arm up, kind of like you are running. So you can speed this one up a little bit as well, a little bit quicker. And what you want to do is keep a little bit of a bend of this other knee that's staying nice and still at all times. So you want it to stay slightly bent. We're going to basically load up that thigh a little bit. So you want to start to feel it hopefully in the thigh after a few. Pretty much you can go as quick or as slow as you feel comfortable. But let's change legs, so give that leg a shake if you need to. Change it over to the other side. So we have a slight bend of that inside leg, or the leg that we're standing on. We tap our toes back, bring it through. Tap back, bring it through. Opposite arm comes through as that knee lifts. And we are speeding it up if you feel comfortable. Remember to use your wall or your chair if you need. If you need some balance help, definitely use that wall or that chair. And just hold on and just try and keep bringing that knee up and through. Remember to keep that little soft knee, that other leg. So that we load up that thigh. And repeat, repeat. That's why it's called a knee repeater. Same, all the time. That's it. Have a rest, give those legs a bit of a shake. Hopefully you're starting to feel them a little bit by now. Just to give them a bit of a rest, what we're going to do is, unfortunately can't see my toes, but all we're going to do is stand still. If you need your walls or your chair, use it. Rise up onto our toes and back down. So just both toes, just rising up and back down. I might try and angle that down a little bit. Just keep going for me. This is pretty much an active recovery, so let's see if I can't keep it there. That's better. So rising up on our toes and back down. Both feet just rising up and down. Just to get your breath back, just to let your legs kind of settle down a little bit. And just to wake up our calves a little as well, and our ankles and our feet. We should have woken up our legs a little bit by now, hopefully. I need to turn the aircon on here, it's a little bit hot. Don't know whether I want 19 degrees blowing out here though. All right, give your legs a little bit of a shake after that one. Okay. So now we're going to combine a couple of the two that we've just done. So we're combining the calf raise with our march. So what it looks like is a bit of a bounding kind of exercise. So as we march up with this leg, for instance, so if you need to hold onto a wall or a chair, please do so for balance. What you want to do is bring that knee up into a march, and then you come up on your toes on your other side. So it's a bit more of a fluid movement. So as we come up onto our toes. Now we lift our opposite arm up as we bring that knee up. So we kind of look like we're bounding along. Now, at the moment, my toes aren't leaving the ground. If you want a little bit of extra warm-up / jumping, and you feel comfortable with it, you can actually give a little bit of a hop. But that's completely up to you. If not, just make sure you're holding onto the wall and you're bringing that knee up and coming up on your toes on that foot that's still on the ground. Opposite arm comes through. So you've got a couple of levels. You've got just your little holds on the wall. You've got just your normal bounding up onto your toes, but not actually leaving the ground. And then you've actually got your little hops as well. So choose your level. Pick where you're at, pick how warmed up you are, or potentially how warmed up you're not. And yeah, opposite arm, as best you can. All right, give those legs a little bit of a shake now. We are going to, sorry, I'm just gonna come back over. This one is a bit of what we call a skier. So basically the skier is like a side step, and then as best you can, we tap that foot behind, we side step out across again, and we tap that other foot behind. So we're going side to side, tapping that foot behind. Now I'm in a corner, so I'm probably gonna kick some walls here, but that's okay. But if you're at home, just make sure you've got enough room side to side for me. And just make sure that you're feeling comfortable enough that you can tap that toe behind and not lose your balance. If so, just do it behind your chair and just tap behind the chair, so you're just side stepping from side to side of the chair. Now what we want to do with this to make it a little bit harder is we want to get nice and low. So we're going to stay nice and low, so we're just in a tiny little squat stance. Remember, it's not too much. It's just a nice little bent knee position. And we just come across side to side. And we want to stay nice and low. So we're going to try and load up those thighs again. Keep your bottom out the back as best you can. Try not to bend your knees forward. So you will have a little bit of if you see me from the side, you will have a little bit of a forward lean, but not too much, but you want to make sure that your back's still straight. So none of this, none of this. Try and stand up nice and tall. You're just leaning forward just a little bit from your hips. Now, if you want to make this harder, again, this is our sort of level ones with your chair in front. You're just going side to side from the chair. Level two, stepping it out a little bit more, kind of like I'm doing here, within my means of walls and walls. Level three, what you can do is a little jump across and keep that leg up. So if you're comfortable with your balance, comfortable with a little bit of a hop, you can keep that leg up and you can hop side to side. That will help. This is our sort of baseline, if you will, but you can pick and choose which way you go. Let's add some arms in. So the leg that's going behind, the arm comes up and across the body, just a little bend. So it's kind of like you're just reaching up towards your opposite shoulder and back. All right, standing up nice and tall. Give those legs a shake again for me. Okay. So, next one, what did I have? Nice and simple to give our legs a bit of a rest for a second. Arms out to the side. And what we're going to do is some nice little arm circles. So standing up nice and tall, keep your chest up nice and proud. Just some nice little arm circles. Now, same as normal for those of you that have been with me before. If you have shoulder problems here, you can do your little chicken wings if they start to get a bit too much. Or you can just drop them down a little bit lower. So they're your options. This is the ideal, but it's up to you. We can just make them a little bit bigger. So a little bit bigger circles. And then what we'll do is we'll change it to big ones but backwards. So I'm just very aware that I'm going to whack that wall in a second. So nice big circles backwards, and then we move it into our smaller circles, but we're going backwards instead of forwards. That's it. So we should have warmed up our legs, hopefully. We're now warming up our arms. That should pretty much be enough for the arms. Give them a bit of a shake for me. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to start, we're going to incorporate a strength exercise into our warm-up. So grab your little weights for me. And what we're going to do is basically like a quick movement bicep curl with a little bit of a squat. So our squat, remember, is only small, like it was before. We don't want too big of a squat. We just want a little squat. And then what we're going to do is our little squat, come up, bicep curl. Little squat, bicep curl. So it should be a squat so that this is a pretty quick movement. Squat, bicep curl. Squat, bicep curl. Squat, bicep curl. So it's not too big of a movement. All we're doing, sorry, I'll step back a slight bit. Tiny little bend in the knees, up, bend your elbows. Hopefully this weight is pretty light for you. You're not feeling it too much. If it starts to get a bit too heavy, just make sure you pop your weights down and you can still do the movements with your arms, just without the weights. See how you go. That's it. So squat, bicep curl. Squat, bicep curl. Hopefully now our legs are starting to warm back up, starting to feel them a little bit again. Arms should be starting to feel it a little bit. Although if your weight's nice and light, hopefully it's just turning the muscle on, which is the ideal. Let's do another 3, 2, 1. All right, so grab your chair for me, have a seat. Have your weight still in your hand though, sorry. So we're having a seat on our chair, got our weights in our hand, pop them up at our shoulders. Now what we're going to do is hopefully your weights are still your nice light weights. If not, and if you've got shoulder problems, make sure that you pop your weights down by your side and you just do this with your arms instead of with the weights. What we're going to do is some alternating boxing or alternating shoulder presses up above our head. So we just want to take this nice and slow to start off with. Make sure that if those weights get too heavy for you or your shoulders aren't quite feeling so good, pop the weights down and just as best you can, try and do it without. But we'll see how we go. So just nice and slow, pushing up, back down, push up, back. That's it. So what we're trying to focus on as well is that our bottom, our hips aren't moving side to side and that our body is not moving side to side. So we want to sit up nice and tall. To do that, try and tuck your belly button into your spine just a little bit. So it's just a little bit of a hold in. You should still be able to breathe and talk if you had to. But we're just sitting up nice and tall, trying not to get any rock through our pelvis or through our hips. And just nice and easy, side to side, pushing up. All right, let's pop those weights just down or off to the side for a second. Give those shoulders a bit of a roll, give your arms a bit of a rest. And then roll them back. Now, hopefully, give them a bit of a shake if you need. Hopefully, your legs are recovered a bit. What we're going to do, we're going to stand up again. I'm going to pull my chair off to the side. Hopefully, you don't need to do any furniture removaling at your own house. It's only just in here. Okay, so we're back to our legs. Now, what we're going to do is, for those of you that have played at home before, we are going to step forward, both feet nice and wide, and then we step back with the same foot we step forward with. So we step forward nice and wide, we get nice, a little bit lower, so a little bit of a bend of the knees, and then we step back, same foot. So we're stepping forward, back. So as we come forward, we come in a little bit, and we come down just a smidge, soft knees, we lean in and down, and then we step back. So nice and easy to start off with. Just get the rhythm for me. So it's kind of like in, out, out, in, out, in, out, out, in, out, out. Cool. Let's change our leg that we're leading with. So for me, that would be over to my right side to lead with. So in, out, out, in, out. Doesn't matter which leg you started with, just go to your other one. So as we come in, remember soft knees, and as we step back, we just step back into a normal standing position. We want to come back and together a bit more, but when we come forward, we keep our knees nice and wide. Just keep going there for me. Try and keep that rhythm and tempo going for a sec. I am going to change it up in a second. What we're going to do is just have a rest there for me. What we're going to do now is we're going to do our step forward like we just were. We're going to wait here because we're going to do 10 as we land. Sorry, I should with soft knees. So as we land, we're going to have our soft knees like we just did, and we're going to do 5 little pulses. So from there, you just go a little bit lower. So they're not massive. If I step forward and I'm in our soft knee position, I'm just pulsing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we would step back again. So you step forward, you stay low, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we're never straightening our legs fully, and then we come back into our normal stand. Step forward, and we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we step back again. Nice straight legs. Have them hold here for a couple of seconds. Step it forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and step it back. Other leg leading this time. So we're forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, step it back. Now if you're feeling this in your knees, just don't go quite so low for me, or have a rest, either other. So you don't want to go too low that you're starting to feel it's an actual squat. We're just trying to wake up our legs again, remember? So we're not trying to actually work hard. We're just trying to wake those legs up at the moment. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step it back. We'll do one more for good measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step it back. Give those legs a bit of a shake. Give your arms a bit of a shake. Grab a drink if you need one, if you haven't already had one. We're coming back into some balance stuff to start off with for our strengthy kind of circuit with a bit of everything involved. So grab your drinks, grab your weights if you need them. I'm going to give you a few different levels of the next one, so just have them ready for me. And I've got the chair there for balance. For those of you that need the chair there for balance, I'll show you those ones first. And then if you feel comfortable with your balance, we don't need the chair. I'm just going to ditch that off to the side and then we'll see how we go. Sorry, just trying to get the angle of that right. Okay, so for the first one, you've got a couple of levels for your balance. So these are my feet right now. You've got feet apart, which is your most balanced phase. So this is progressively getting harder. We're going from easy to hard. So feet apart, you've got then feet directly together. You've then got feet slightly one in front of the other, and then you've got feet in a heel-toe position. So if you want to balance and you find your position where you can hold for at least a few seconds, or you've got that wobble of your ankles, but you're not actually falling or having to step out to save yourself, that's a good spot to be in. If you're finding that you just have to step out every, as soon as you let go of the chair, you have to step away, then that's probably not the best. You probably want to take it back one rung on that level. So apart, together, slightly in front, very in front. But if you can sort of stand there and hold, like I'm now in that very in front position, granted I have had a lot of practice at this. So if you can stand there and hold, we're going to add in a couple of different things for you. If you're comfortable here holding onto your chair and you're comfortable with your balance in that position, by all means, please do stay in that position. Try not to push yourself too hard to the point where you actually do have to step out and catch yourself as such. So what we want to do is we're standing here balancing. If you can take your hands off your chair and stand in that position that you're in and balance for a few seconds, that's brilliant. If you are comfortable with taking your hands away and you have free hands, the next thing is we grab our little weights here. And what we do, there we go, there's my little ankle movements for you. So we want to have some ankle movement, remember, otherwise it's not a challenge. We're going to take our arms out to the side. Now, if you have shoulder problems, bring your elbows in. And if those weights feel too heavy, bring your elbows in or just pop your weights down. Arms are out to the side as best you can, and we're just holding there. Kind of like you're walking on a tightrope is the sort of sensation that we're going for. Now, if you're finding this extra easy and you're just getting that little bit of ankle wobble, but you're not actually having to step out or save yourself or anything like that, what you can add in, and even if you don't have the weights out but you're still holding onto your chair, what we can do is nice little head turns side to side. So nice and slowly. So this is basically the hardest level with your arms out and you've got your head turns. If you're more comfortable with your hand on the chair and you don't want to pop your arms out, or you've got shoulder problems and you're just happy to handle it onto the chair, you still can add in those head turns for me. So it doesn't mean that you have to have your arms out to head turn. Just try and add a nice slow head turn side to side, looking over each shoulder. Once you've found your level, just stay here for a couple of seconds and then we're going to change beat. All right. So if you've done that one and you're comfortable with which level you're at, apart, together, one slightly in front, one fully in front, then choose that same. I don't know what happened there. Choose that same level for the next one, but we'll just pop that other foot in front if you did have one slightly or fully in front. Okay, so we've got our other foot in front this time. Setting up nice and tall to start off with. If you need to, hold on to your chair. If you're not confident, you've got a wall or a chair, please use it. So if you stay here, in a couple of seconds, we'll start our little head turns again, nice and slow side to side. If you're still comfortable, arms are out to the side, and we're slowly head turning. Whether you've got weights or not, that's completely up to you. There we go, I had to save myself. So that's what I mean by save yourself, is basically just that you have to take that little step, or you have to take your feet apart momentarily to just keep your balance, so just keep yourself upright. Nice slow head turn, side to side, nice and easy. That's it. And then bring those weights back down. If you've got weights in your hands, pop them down. Give everything a little bit of a shake. And we're into the next one. So for the next one as well, if you do have balance issues or you feel like you're not quite confident enough yet, that's perfectly fine. Make sure you use the back of your chair again. What we're going to do for the rest of us that have our hands free, just hold your weights down by your side. So we're not actually moving the weights this time, they're just hanging. They're just adding something a little bit extra to our arms and keeping our shoulders down. What we're going to do is we're going to step forward. Once we step forward, we're a little bit off balance. So we're going to come up onto the toes on our back foot. So we're popping the weight through the front leg. Now that's going to put all the balance onto that front foot. Basically what you want to try and do then is do a little tiny lunge. So that's just bending the back knee just a smidge. The front knee will follow, so don't lean forward. What I'll show you what I mean by that, but if you need your chair, please do keep a hold of that. That's not saying chair, it's just a stick in the background. So what we're going to do is step forward. We bend our back knee, and as our back knee bends, our front knee bends. Now we're not dropping that knee all the way to the ground, we're just doing a little tiny bend. So we're just bending down and then back. So please don't come forward and then try and lean forward. That's not what we want. We want to bend this back knee a little bit. The front knee will bend and forward. That means that we're staying up nice and tall. I'm on a little bit of an angle too, but we're staying up nice and tall, and then we step back. So I'm trying to be pretty much directly side on. They're still nice and up and down. We're not leaning forward with our torso. We're not leaning back or anything crazy like that. We're just standing up nice and tall. Those knees are bent, and we step back. So what we're going to do is we're going to alternate that lunge. So we're going to step forward. We're going to bend our knees just a little bit. Come back up and step it back together. Step out And when I say back together, I mean your feet are still at about hip width apart, so they're not directly together. That will put you off balance a little bit more. What we want to do is focus on that little like both knee bend and just bending down a little bit, push it back up and back together. Now what I want you to try and focus on here is just staying up nice and tall. Those weights are just hanging by your sides. They're not actually doing anything at this point in time, apart from just hanging by your sides and trying to keep your shoulders down. You step forward, you do a little lunge, push back up, and step back. Step it forward, little bend, push back up, and step back. Step forward, little bend, push up, and back. So we want to make sure that that step needs to be relatively large, not massive, but big enough that you've got a bit of distance between your feet, so that when you do bend that back knee in, you're not ending up nice, like really cramped together with your legs. That's it. So forward, bend, up, and up. Forward, bend, up, and back. All right. Give those legs a bit of a shake. That was really good. So we can pop our weights down to the side. Just make sure you've got a little bit of room around you, whether you have to walk forwards or sideways or turn or whatever you have to do. The next one is basically a little bit of a crab walk. So this is one of the ones that I've kept from the other day, mainly because it's with a little bit of a stomp. So we're focusing now on a bit of our bone building stuff. So not only are we doing a bit of strength, but we're doing a bit of bone building. Remember, with your stomps, you want to stomp through your heel of your foot, not through your toes. So as you stomp, you want to really try and land with that heel. Reason why is we dissipate our force up our leg rather than in our toes. There's not really anywhere for it to go by into the foot and into the ankle. So you're actually putting more pressure through that complex of your foot and then through your ankle joint as well. So we don't want that. We want you to try and stomp with your heel first. Even if that has to make you think about like putting your heel down first, it's probably not necessarily a bad thing. We are in our slightly knee bent position. Remember, it's not a squat, it's just soft knees. Nothing more than that. We're in our soft knee position. We stomp, we stomp, we stomp, we stomp. That's about all I have room for. I'm going to go back the other way for the same. Stomp, 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 stomp. Hopefully we've got enough room to get a couple of steps in each direction. Stomp, 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 stomp. If you've got room to do a few more steps, by all means, please do. But if that's all that you've got is 2 steps, that's perfectly fine as well. Just one more than one is hopefully ideal. But make sure you do the same amount of stomps each direction, so that we're loading up each leg the same, basically. Because your first foot is likely going to stomp harder, so the one that you step out with first is going to stomp harder than the second one, usually. What we want to feel is that there's a little bit of, and there's no real politically correct term to put to this, we want to feel that little bit of a jiggle up through our thighs. So if we're stomping correctly, we should feel it almost the whole way up our leg. That's the idea of it. We should feel it up around our thighs and up around our hips as well. There should be that little bit of a like sort of vibration force almost. And you should be feeling, just give your legs a bit of a shake there. You shouldn't feel that your toes are hurting at all. In fact, you should hopefully have next to no pain. So make sure, the other thing I should have said before, make sure that you're doing it on a relatively, well, not soft surface, but make sure that if you're on concrete or anything that you do have good shoes on. Try not to be doing this in your bare feet. You will feel it, and I don't condone that. So make sure that you've got your good shoes on. If you're on carpet or something, or you're on on floorboards, you can probably get away with doing it in softer shoes or something like that. But ideally, if we're thinking about stomping stuff, we definitely want to be wearing sneakers. So I do recommend obviously wearing sneakers throughout your whole session if you can. That's the ideal goal. If you don't have any, just don't stomp quite so hard. We did this one. We're going to do that again. What I want you to focus on this time is trying to keep up nice and tall with your body. So what I mean by that is we still got our soft knees, but we're still up nice and tall for our body and our core. We're still switched on. As we stomp, we stay in that position. We don't lean forward or backwards at all. We try and stay nice and tall, nice and tight through here and through our core. Staying up nice and tall. We stomp, stomp, we stomp, stomp. And then back again. Stomp, 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 stomp. If this is giving you a bit of pressure or you are feeling a bit more and you are on concrete, I like to slide under here. Just don't stomp quite so hard. So you don't need to stomp your full force. It's literally just putting a bit more force through than you normally would. And what that does is it stimulates our bones, to get a bit stronger because it recognises that there's a bit more force going through than normal. So it wants to then send a signal up to our brain to try and, make those adjustments happen if it can. So that's the idea of that. We put a little bit more force through, and hopefully it will help stimulate a bit more bone growth, or a bit more bone density, I should say. Okay, so the next one is a bit more of a balanced one again, but we are adding in a bit of plyometrics for those that want a little bit of a jump. I will show you that in a second. For those of you that aren't quite comfortable with jumping or landing, or you've got knee problems, or you're probably not too sure, don't go for the jump option. Stay with me at the first option. So if you need your chair, please do use it. If you're not confident in your balance, please have your chair ready. What we're doing is a step forward to a single leg hold. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but basically what I want you to focus on is keeping your knees apart when you're standing still. Try not to pop your knee into your other knee. What that does is pushes your hip out, and it's not necessarily good for your hip. So especially if you're holding on, really try and keep those knees apart. And try and keep your hips as level as you can, especially if you're looking into your camera and you can see yourself. Try and keep your hips as level as you possibly can. So we don't want to be here, but we don't want to let this hip drop out too much. We want to keep it nice and steady. Hips are at the same level, and our knees are apart when we step forward. So we then step back, we then step forward with the other side, we hold, and we step back. So the same goes for those of you that are not holding on. Try and really keep those legs apart as best you can. And we don't want, sorry, my leg is apart, it's just the angle that's, and we don't want to drop that hip. So we want to keep those hips nice and steady. That means that you're going to have to really think about squeezing your bottom. So you really want to try and squeeze that bottom, make sure that it's nice and tight, so your hips stay nice and level. A lot of people will get pain in their hips from when they stand on one leg, their hip will automatically do this, and that's just a bit of a weakness in that outer hip. It's nothing major. But basically, if you just try and think about it, and you try and think about having your hands level on your hips, it makes a massive difference. So you'll feel it obviously more in your muscles, but hopefully less in the actual hip joint itself. So you really want to try and squeeze. We're just holding for a couple of seconds, sorry. As I demonstrate, I tend to hold for a bit longer, which is my bad. Okay, so if you're comfortable there, you're comfortable with your chair, you're comfortable with your hands and your hips, whatever happens to be, you're not quite too sure about the landing and the jumping stuff, stay with that. For those of you that want a little bit more of a challenge, and I digress, if you have any knee problems, you're not quite 100% sure on how your knee's going to hold up, please don't try. If you're okay, by all means, give it a crack. We're going to, instead of stepping forward, we're going to actually do a little hop forward and hold on that leg. Basically, the only stipulation with this one is that as you jump forward and land, you can keep that knee out and not make it come in like this. So pretty much immediately, you'll lose your balance if you do. But you want to make sure that you're trying to track that knee out. So for those of you that are playing at home, you jump forward to that one leg, you hold, and we're trying to keep our knee facing out rather than letting it come in. That's the only stipulation I have for you guys if you are doing this, is that your knee stays out and doesn't fall in. And then you're just trying to balance for a couple of seconds as best you can. So same as what we were with the step. There you go, that balance is got a bit off now. We're just trying to hold for a couple of seconds and then back. So for those of you that are doing the little step 2, please do keep doing a couple more. We're just stepping to a hold, and then back, and then other foot, step to a hold, and back. Good. Do 2 more. Those of you that are jumping probably going way ahead of me. Okay, give those legs a bit of a shake. That's a really good balanced one to do at home, especially for those of you that have any hip issues. Make sure that when you go to stand on one leg, and it's actually an exercise in itself, if you're standing in front of a mirror, maybe not so much in the camera at the moment, but if you're standing in front of the mirror and you're at home, just stand on, just literally go weight to one leg and try and make sure that your hips stay even. What you will feel is that you're actually using this outer hip, and it might not take too long for that to actually kick in and you to actually feel that outer hip or through your bottom a little bit. But what you want to do is try and just hold there and see how long you can hold that for. Even if you have to hold onto your chair or you have to hold onto your wall, that's perfectly fine. But what you're trying to do is just make sure, just watch that you're not getting any of that tilt out, or that you're not having that real bend, or this hip's not dropping down. That you're trying to keep your hips nice and even. What you'll find then is that if you're trying to keep your legs apart, if you're here, it's really hard to keep your legs apart. So if you have straight hips, it's actually really easy to keep your legs apart. So just keep that in mind. That's a good one to practice for those of you that have a little bit of hip instability, or you're not comfortable through your hips, or you've got a bit of hip pain. Try that at home, because it is a really good exercise just to do by itself. You only need to do a couple of days and you're pretty much fine. Okay, let's have a seat and we'll grab our weights again. All right, so make sure you've got a seat that you're comfortable in doing sit to stands in. So we want to make sure that we don't necessarily need to use our hands to get up. So if that means that your chair needs to have a bit of a pillow or a couple of rolled up towels or something underneath the bottom, by all means please do, but we're trying not to use our arms because we want our arms free to do our legs. So what we're going to do, we're going to stand up from our seat. As we stand up, we're going to bring arms out to the side. Remember, just to shoulder height, no higher, so nothing up here, just below shoulder height or at shoulder height. We bring them back down. We have a seat. Make sure your seat's still behind you and you haven't kicked it back if you're using a kitchen chair or something, or please don't use a roller chair for this, but if you have to, make sure you're against the wall. Standing up, and then the next one is lifting out in front. Again, only to shoulder height, wrists are no higher than the shoulders, bring that back down, and we sit back. So we stand up, out to the side, back in, and down, up to the, standing up, sorry, out to the front, back down, and sit. And stand up, out to the side, back down, and zoom back, and come out, out to the front, back in, and zoom back. We've got 4 more. Now, if your weight's getting a little bit too heavy, you can pop them down, obviously, by all means. To the sides, just use your arms. So 2 more. And standing up. And all right, just give yourself a little bit of a rest here while we're here. Okay, give those legs a bit of a shake, knee. Give your arms a little bit of a shake as well. Oh, that was me just hitting the chair, sorry. Okay, so we're going to do that again, just 10 more. The main thing I want you to focus on here with these sit to stands is that your knees aren't falling in. So as you stand up, what you don't want to see is this happen. You want to try and make sure that as best you can, and it's funny how much stronger people feel when they do this, you want to keep your knees apart. So even if you have to think of keeping your knees apart, it will help, because even if I start with my knees apart, they will track back in to a front on and a neutral position at the end. So you try and keep your knees apart. What it does is it means that you're actually using more of your bottom muscles, which are the largest muscle in the body, so you want to use them. We are using more of those, so it actually makes people generally feel stronger. When they come in, it's generally because of an instability in the knee, and that will make your knees feel worse. So if you get a lot of knee pain during sit to stands, what you want to do is make sure your knees are facing out rather than in. Try and keep them out at all times. That in itself should hopefully change, and the same goes for when you sit back down. Just trying to keep your knees apart as best you can. All right, so we're going to go again. We're going to stand up, arms out to the side, back down, sitting back. So try and keep the knees apart as well on the way back down. That is usually the harder one. Down in front, back in, and sitting back down. Keeping your knees apart when you sit tends to be harder than standing. So make sure that you try and take your time. And if you have to flop back in your chair a couple of times to try and get it right, I will allow it. Even though our object is obviously to not flop. But if you need to get it right and you're trying, your strength just isn't quite to that point yet, I'll allow it. All right. So sitting back down, sitting back up, out in front. Good. Sitting back down, standing up, side, and sitting down. Last one. And in front. Good job. Sitting back, have a rest here. Alrighty, so the next one that we're going to do, all we need is one leg, and we do need the back of our chair. So make sure that you do have the back of your chair, or you do have something at about, waist-ish height you can grab onto. What we're going to do is, those of you that have seen me before and have had this particular session with me before, we're doing our little golfer's lift, or what you call golfer's lift. I don't know why they call it a golfer's lift, don't ask me. But it's basically like a single leg lift. So good one for if you can't quite squat low enough to pick something up off the ground. This is what we always recommend in reverse to that. But make sure that you are holding onto your chair at all times because it does create a bit of leverage. Your weight is in your other hand, so it's in your outside hand, for instance. What we're doing is we're inside leg to the chair, always the inside leg. We are standing on that leg, and what we're doing is just hanging this arm. So this arm is not doing anything, the weight arm is just hanging. It's basically to provide a little bit of a counter leverage for your leg. What we're doing, we pop that other leg back so that it's just out behind our body, and we lean forward. As we lean forward, we take that leg up with us. So hopefully the leg isn't lagging behind too much. If you're finding that you're getting a little bit of pain or a little bit of tightness or tension through that lower back, what I want you to do is think about really squeezing the bottom back. Try and keep that bottom squeezed, and you'll be amazed how much of a difference that just leaving that bottom squeeze will make. It will leverage your leg back with you, so you can really try and squeeze through that bottom muscle. So forward and up. Nice and easy, nice and slow. And standing. Move forward. And nice and easy to start off with. Really try and squeeze that bottom back. Right. I'm going to turn around. We're going to do the other side. So remember, all you'll have to do hopefully is just turn around where you are. But arms on the chair, inside leg is the one we're standing on, so we should be doing the opposite side this one. Pop that weight in that other arm, it's just hanging. We squeeze back. We keep that knee that we're standing on a little bit soft, so it's not directly straight. We just bend forward just a little bit. We bring it back up. Just keep going there for me. Just gonna double check something. Okay, keep going on that one for me. A little bend of that knee, back up, and in. Good job. All right, give everything a little bit of a shake there. Now, if you've got your, hopefully, for those of you that know me well, hopefully you've got your broomstick or your walking stick or something like a stick, resembling a stick near you. That's up to you if you have one. I've just got a little bit of a broomstick. Now, you don't necessarily need to have one, but ideally you'll have like a walking stick or a broomstick or something that you can use around. Even if it does have a broom head on it, this one obviously doesn't, but if you do have a broom head on it, that's perfectly fine. Pop your broom head on the floor in between your feet. We extend our arms out in front, and all we do is nice and slow side to side. We just do nice, slow turns side to side. So really nice and slow, returning, we come back. Remember, you want to have your soft knees. People will get sick of me saying this, but please do remember your soft knees. So it's just a slight bend of the knee. It's nothing like a squat. We're just keeping soft knees to take the pressure off that knee joint. So we're just going nice and slow, side to side. Don't go too fast, only go as far as you feel comfortable. Pull it back to the middle, and then back over to the other side, pull it back to the middle. So really nice and slow, side to side. Don't go too fast, don't go too far. Now, as we're here, let's get our breathing back. So nice deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just to control that breathing back in. Good news, we are nearly finished. It's a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth. In and out. In and out. All right, let's just ditch that broomstick off to the side for a second. Do a similar thing, but we'll just pop our arms out to our side this time. So we're just popping our arms out to our side, just at about a 45-degree angle, nothing too crazy. And what we're doing is our little turns side to side. So now you should hopefully be able to get a little bit further because we're not dragging that other arm with us. So just turning through our back just a little bit, just side to side. So just to loosen up a little. Remember to keep that sort of breathing, steady breathing going, not necessarily deep breathing, but just nice and steady breathing. Excellent. All right.